Well, guys, I've decided to take a break from playing action PC football. Well, as you guys probably already know, this channel started out devoted exclusively to action PC football. If you haven't heard of it, that's a Windows-based computer football sim. Now, that game is clunky at best, but I've given it the benefit of the doubt, and I've played it frequently for several years now. However, I've come to the conclusion that it really is time for me to move on from this game. So I've got a couple of reasons to stop playing this game. I thought it'd be best to go over at least some of them with you one by one. And we'll start with the biggest one, which is the fact that the computer can call plays that you simply can't. Well, I've mentioned before that the computer manager in this game really likes to dump passes off to running backs. This is a major problem. What you might not realize, though, is that the computer can actually call medium passes to the running back, that is, not just screen or short passes. Technically, you can also call a medium hitch pass to your running back as a human coach, though you need to learn how to call it. If you click on the running back as you'd expect to, the option isn't there. You have to select the pass first to see the running back come up as an option. Well, the problem, of course, is that this kind of pass makes no sense when you look at the play diagram. I mean, how are the running backs getting 15 yards downfield after plowing through the line? Well, at least in this case, you can technically make that play call yourself, but you have to know how to. You have to know where it is. The next one that we're going to talk about is a play that you cannot call by yourself. Only the computer can. Well, that would be this one. This is a medium fly pass to the running back, which makes even less sense. I suppose that this kind of play is technically feasible within the rules, but it winds up being so effective for the computer manager that there's practically no way to stop it. And in this case, you actually cannot call this play yourself even if you want to. Only the computer is allowed to target the running back on the medium fly. So the problem here comes if you're playing defense against the computer because, you only have so many linebackers. So if you got one that's watching the quarterback for a possible run, which the computer loves to do, and you've got another two playing cover, you aren't going to have enough guys to cover the running backs for potential long or medium passes to the running backs. And the honest truth is that this just simply isn't realistic no matter how you look at it. The way in-game to prevent the pass to the running back is to double team the running back. But of course, in the pro set formation that was used for decades, that would mean doubling two different potential pass receivers. So the result here is really frustrating. In long yardage situations where the offense will clearly pass, the computer seems to be able to gain massive amounts of yards simply by targeting the running back, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, let's look at some stats from a sample game. If you look closely at these stats, you'll see that the 1984 Alabama team attempted 9 passes to running backs Paul Carruth and Ricky Moore. Sutton completed 7 of those for almost 100 yards. Remember, this is Vince Sutton, who was not a particularly good quarterback in real life. And in real life, Moore only had 19 receptions all season. Carruth only had 18. And I guarantee you that none of those plays were medium fly patterns. Now, part of the problem here is also with how the game calculates yardage, because it uses yardage per play in real life. It's all based on those averages, which, when it comes to football statistics, can be really deceiving. The problem centers around marginal players. That would be players who didn't play that much in real life, but who managed to do really well in this game because their stats are skewed. I figured out a way to take advantage of this myself. So in this game, I passed to Donnie Centers one time. It was for 36 yards, which was a huge play. In real life, Donnie Centers only caught 3 passes for a grand total of 18.7 yards per reception. In other words, because of how this game is created, if you can complete a pass to him, it's going to be for a large gain. At least that's the way that Action PC Football's logic seems to work. Now, if you look closely inside the game, you'll see that players have blocking ratings, and it appears that there are also separate ratings for passing and running play blocking. However, it's clear that the actual backs themselves will perform in line with their averages regardless of who is blocking. For example, in this game, I had defensive back Kenny Weatherspoon run 3 times for Vanderbilt. He gained over 7 yards per carry. In real life, Weatherspoon, who again was a defensive back, averaged about 4 yards per carry, but he only ran 20 times in 11 games. Now, there simply is not much of a penalty in Action PC football for this kind of player overuse. Now, this is actually, to my knowledge, a problem in every football sim that's out there. You see, the issue is that it's kind of hard to figure out how much of a good run or a good pass is due to the so-called skilled player and how much of it is due to the blocking. Now, I don't know exactly how much contemporary research has said on this subject, but I'm 100% convinced that Action PC Football has done absolutely nothing with the newest research that's out there. Now, the truth is that you can prevent overuse in-game by changing the usage rules. Well, you sort of can. The problem is that it's not clearly precise how this works. There is no help file, and the manual and strategy guides say very little about how this actually impacts the game. Now, there are people devoted to the game that exist on the forums that claim to have figured out the best usage settings. But, of course, this is based on simply guessing. Nobody really has studied the issue. Okay, if you look again at my settings, you can see that I set usage restrictions higher than normal. But that's because my league has each team playing 16 games. The players need more flexibility to avoid running out of runs halfway through the season. Well, this whole thing is a mess in my opinion, and I've talked about this before. Setting usage restrictions based on the total number of receptions and runs in a season is just totally ridiculous. Now, I could see using a fatigue meter for every individual game, but punishing a team that only played 9 games in real life because you have them in a 16-game schedule is just wrong. There are other major problems too, such as players missing from the official season discs. If you take the time to audit your official season disc that you bought from the game company, you might be surprised to see who is missing. Now, some of this is understandable. So, for example, Bob Farrell had no runs despite appearing in 12 games in 1980, but he's still listed on Pro Football Reference, which is where I presume the company got the numbers. The game is extremely clunky and quite ugly. You'll notice that the screen slowly refreshes every now and then. This is because the game was programmed in Visual Basic and it's really showing its age. Also, and really infuriating to me, is the fact that the in-game scheduler is broken. And I mean, that's all that there is to it. You can't choose specific dates for games, the computer scheduler just does not work, and there have been absolutely no attempts by the company to fix any of these problems. So for this league, I had to come up with my own scheduling algorithm, I had to make the whole thing as a spreadsheet, and I had to then import it into the game that way. It was tedious and cumbersome, and frankly, this is 2025, this is ridiculous. And as bad as the schedule is, the system to import teams is somehow even worse. This screen makes it seem that you can import more than one team at a time. However, if you try to choose more than one team, you'll get this error message every single time. Well, I could go on with all of this. For example, I stopped using the chalkboard because of the mind-boggling number of bugs that I encountered. There are other major issues with bad grammar and incomplete sentences in the play-by-play text. Now, I know that the text can be changed, but when you consider what this game costs, you're really not getting a high-quality product. And the thing is that there are perfectly viable competitors out there. Well, some of you know about some of these games already. Now, I want to slowly take a look at them and see what else is out there. And that does include both computer sims and board sims. Okay, so I know for a fact that the perfect football sim just doesn't exist. I do think, however, that at least for me, it's time to sort of broaden my horizons. Now, it's going to take a little while for me to get some of these games and start playing with them. In the meantime, I'm going to keep doing videos here. We'll do some deep dives into football history. We'll look at a couple of these issues that have come up in conjunction with play calling and stuff like that. So stick around and we'll have something really good for you here in the future.